Some things came out about Billy Donovan that actually opened my eyes that Billy Donovan may be evolving and growing as a head coach in ways that I personally did not expect coming into the season. But will it pay off for the Chicago Bulls? We're going to talk about the ways that Billy Donovan is growing and evolving as a head coach and how it should help this team quite considerably this upcoming season. We're going to get into all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host here, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today. And so there are a couple of details that came out about Billy Donovan this today after an Chicago Bulls practice. And I'm not going to lie to you. There's not been very many times in my time of following the Bulls, in time of Billy Donovan being here. He's been following the Bulls a lot longer than Billy Donovan being the coach here. But in my time with Billy Donovan being the coach here, that he said things that actually surprised me. And then after that, actually made me sit there and think about what Billy Donovan's doing and actually realize that there may be a method to the madness for once for Billy Donovan. So I'll bear the lead here. What I talked about and what I'm talking about is Billy Donovan, after today's practice, said a couple of things. First, he said that the Bulls will use a 10-man rotation, right? Is that they will commit to a 10-man rotation, which is fine. You look at the Bulls and the depth that they have, they're committed to a 10-man rotation. It makes sense, right? You have your starters in Josh Giddey, Kobe White, Zach LaVine, Patrick Williams, Nikola Vucevic, and then you have about 7 players off the bench in Idouu, Modest Bucilis, Jalen Smith, THT, Torrey Craig, Dalen Terry, Julian Phillips. 7 players off the bench that theoretically all can get some type of rotational minutes. And I was like, okay, Billy Donovan's committing to a 10-man rotation. That makes sense. In games that Lonzo does not play, you still got another guy that can get a little bit more minutes in there. It makes sense, right? It makes complete sense. And then after that, he also said that they want to avoid 10-minute stints. Anything over they do not want players playing stints of 10 minutes or more because they want to keep everybody fresh. And because of how fast this team is going to play, they want to cycle in the subs pretty regularly. And I'm going to tell you right now, what Billy Donovan's actually thinking about his rotations. Billy Donovan is actually thinking about the fact that he wants to keep players fresh. And that's just, here's the thing, right? And I agree with Jacob on the Don. He says, don't talk about it, Billy Donovan, be about it. You're 100% right. I don't want to take away from that. You're 100% right, right? He has to not only talk about it, but you got to walk it as well. But the fact that Billy Donovan, is committing to a 10-man roster, he typically only goes 8 deep. So he's committing to a 10-man roster. Cool. I'll give you your credit there. Then to take it a step further out of that, you are also committing to you want to avoid players playing 10-minute stints or more. That with the Bulls wanting to play fast, right? And especially when you still have players on your team like Nikola Vucevic, who we know is not going to thrive in an up-tempo system. You already have players, on your team that's like Patrick Williams, Julian Phillips, Torrey Craig, that can all be interchangeable. Modest Bucilis at that 4. We already knew that the Chicago Bulls were going to be a team that could throw a lot of different looks at you. That they were going to be a team that played with the fastest pace in preseason. They're going to try to play really fast. But then you think back on this, right? And this is something I said over on Locked On Bulls. I go back to Billy Donovan in training camp, deciding to go to a 14-second shot clock so that everybody understands how quick they need to move in this new offense. I am somebody who I blame coaching 100% for when players don't move off the ball. When they do not move without the ball, I blame that on coaching. That's a stylistic thing that you have to drill into your players. You have to make sure that they know if you don't move without the ball, I'm going to be on you. And you're going to sit your ass down, and you may get benched if you're not moving without the ball. So to see now Billy Donovan doing that to start off with, going to a 10-man rotation, committing to a 10-man rotation, something Billy Donovan has never consistently done, even on his OKC teams. He's always been a coach that's consistently gone 8 or 9 deep And that ninth man could play some games, could not play some games. To see a commitment to 10-man rotations, less than 10-minute stints for your players to keep everybody fresh and rotate them in and out is good. But then Billy Donovan said something else that, again, completely blew my mind and made me sit there and have to think about it. He said that Lonzo Ball will play shorter stints and that the goal is when Josh Giddey is sitting down, that's when Lonzo Ball will be on the floor. And I know Ball family stands, Lonzo Ball stands are going to be like, oh my God, but why? Why would you do that? But let me tell you the geniusness in this, at least now to start. Lonzo Ball is on a 16-minute restriction, right? A 16-minute restriction. Josh Giddey's probably going to play upwards of 28 to 30 minutes, maybe even 32 minutes per game, right? It's a 48-minute game of basketball. So what does that mean? In the 30 to 33 minutes that Josh Giddey's going to be sitting down, you're going to be having Lonzo Ball out there. What does that also mean? You are going to have two very high IQ basketball players that one of them are going to always be on the floor, that have high IQ and that can play make and can create open shots for their teammates. That's not just a happenstance thing, right? That is huge for the Chicago Bulls roster. For a roster that's trying to adapt a new style, that's trying to play quicker, trying to play faster, that is trying to avoid playing the stagnant up. Listen, it's crazy. It's wild to ask. And listen, I don't understand this question. Why is there a question, do you keep Kobe White? Yes. Like, why is anybody questioning if Kobe White staying in the starting lineup? Yes, Kobe White stays in the starting lineup. He is now your de facto, one of your best players and your number 1 or 2 scorer. Yes, he stays in the start. What are we talking about? But to have two extremely good on-ball creators that aren't just solid passers. There's a different thing between being a good passer and creating open shots. Josh Giddey and Lonzo Ball create open shots at an extremely high rate over their career. Josh Giddey for his career is in the last year he was in the 90th percentile. If you look at the last 3 years, he's in the 92nd percentile. He's one of the best creators in the game of basketball. There's just not it's there. Now, he doesn't always get the high number of assists because the players weren't hitting their open shots at a really good rate. But then you look at Lonzo, who when Lonzo was healthy was in the 88th percentile of open shots generated for your teammates. You're going to have two extremely good on-ball creators, one of them out there on the court at any point in time. When you talk about players like Dalon, talk about players like Julian Phillips, talk about players like Modest Bucilis, talk about players like Jalen Smith, Patrick Williams, these guys that don't create their own shots, to have one of those guys always out there on the court with them, that could help this Bulls offense hum so much better. And I'm sure you're going to see some time of Giddey and Lonzo on the court. But the fact that that Billy Donovan has looked and surveyed this preseason and made the determination, oh, I want to make sure that when Giddey sits, Lonzo's on that floor. That's when Lonzo's going to play. That's how we're going to take advantage of having two really good playmaking point guards and put them in situations where they can create for the other players, and especially in the half court. And what else do they do? I've talked a lot about the half court shot creation. Josh Giddey and Lonzo Ball are both extremely good rebounding guards. Lonzo Ball gets steals. He plays in that passing lane. Hell, Josh Giddey gets a solid amount of steals per minute as well, which you got to talk about. Like he's not a good on-ball defender, but he actually does get in passing lanes pretty well. So you not only have players that can start your fast break, they can finish your fast break, and they can create for others in the fast break. And if you have a half-court offense to where people are moving without the ball, you're going to have guys out there that can get it done. Hey, listen, I tell you what. That's bananas. That is absolute, and this is something that Billy Donovan, you got to give him his credit for. If it works out, right? Like to Jay Capone's point, he's talking about it. We got to see you walk it. That's a fair point. You cannot overlook that point at all. You got to walk what you're talking about. But if he executes this and he sticks to it and does not default to some of the weird things that we've seen Billy Donovan do before, we may be in store for the best coaching job Billy Donovan may have ever done with the Chicago Bulls. He has the roster that fits playing fast. I think, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, The only player on this whole roster that doesn't really play well in an up-tempo offense is Nikola Vucevic. But because you have a quicker, faster, more up and down vertical threat center in Jalen Smith backing him up, we could very well see what we didn't see with Drummond. And that's Jalen Smith could very well average 20 to 22 minutes per game. If you're talking about no more than 10-minute stints for players, Nikola Vucevic also is probably going to get gas playing more up-tempo. We could see a balance to where it's like Vooch plays 28 minutes and Jalen Smith plays 20 minutes at the power at the center position. And you can get him a little bit more if you do play him some at the power forward position. This is going to be really interesting. It's going to be really interesting to watch. And I got to give Billy Donovan credit. This is really hard to read. I changed the font. I don't like it. I try to not be basic, but I don't like it. Take your shows that he realizes that. Take your shows. These probably mean this just shows, maybe what you mean there, that he realizes he doesn't have the same regime anymore of players like DeMar DeRozan. So he has to improvise and think of a much better winning scheme for this team. Yeah. And listen, that's not something every coach will do. Every coach will do. Witten says, y'all know I hate Billy Donovan, but I'm happy to see Billy Donovan finally making smart moves. And for you to say that, Witten, that means a lot. Action speaks louder than words. How many times have we heard the Chicago Bulls say something and do a whole nother thing? Well, we have, right? But you heard them say that with a roster that didn't make sense for it. Like you heard the Bulls say, oh, we want to play faster, but then DeMar DeRozan's averaging 33 minutes. It's hard to play faster when you have DeMar DeRozan on your team, right? But I agree with you. This should still be taken with the level of pessimism until we see it happening, right? But even if you take away the 10-man rotation thing, not using players for 10-minute stints, so 9.5 minute stints, that's just smart for an up-tempo team. That means we're going to be able to stay fresh out there. Billy Donovan did say one of the first clips we got out of training camp is that the Bulls need to be the best conditioned team in the league. And we'll see. Honestly, Patrick Williams probably could benefit the most from a fast tempo system if he just moves without the – listen, you're saying exactly what I've been saying for years, bro. But I know you've been saying it too. I'm not saying it like I broke the ground on saying that. Honestly, this may sound crazy, but when Wes was coaching the last preseason game, he did a decent job. Yeah, he did. And I knew people were going to take that and be like, but what about – we'll see. But I think overall, whether than Wes do a good job or not, I think it's important to note that I think that with the changes that we're seeing and the improvements that we're seeing in areas from the Bulls, you got to assume, right? And it's an assumption, but you got to assume that to some degree, Wes Unseld Jr. and Dan Craig coming to this team have added a new perspective that Billy Donovan is apparently listening to, right? And you got to give him a little bit of credit for that. Not only a little bit of credit for that. Shay, not only if you have Josh and Lonzo not playing together, it benefits both the first and second units. Yeah, because you're going to have one of those guys always out there at one point in time. And don't overlook still having Ayo Dosunmu as well as a creator, especially in the fast break. Really good creator in the fast break. Half court, he has his shortcomings, but in the fast break for sure. Asked about Kobe because he and Zach was not working in the starting lineup last, but that was a different situation, Trey. I think that was a much different situation. Like, Zach wasn't really locked in. Zach seems locked in so far. Have we heard injury updates generally? Like, Ayo had ice on the shoulder. Patrick had an ankle thing. Lonzo experienced soreness after games, ECT. So, yeah, we actually did get some of that today. So, so Patrick Williams and Dalon Terry are the only two that we got reported, like, had some things. Patrick Williams was the limited participant. Dalon Terry, I think, stopped practice early. It seems like Lonzo has had no setbacks with things like that. He is on a 14 to 16-minute restriction versus the Pelicans. But the Bulls have, and this came out an hour ago from Casey Johnson, the Bulls are expected to have a clean injury report for the first game. That's really important as well. Really important. Bulls must do everything possible to not let Lonzo get hurt again, not only for the chemistry, but also about the morale factor, which would be traumatic. I think these players could deal with it. I think it would be more traumatic for us fans to see it. But, like, listen, there's no doubt that Lonzo has had a positive impact on that locker room. Like, you can just see it. They love seeing Lonzo Ball do what he is doing. Haize, call me crazy, but I believe I almost said Caleb. I'm Chicago sports brain, so now we got multiple CWs. Kobe White has to be the number one option. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Hope they are safe with Lonzo this season because I still got Derrick Rose PTSD. I remember the long awaited return and he got hurt out for the season, 10 games into it that one season. Yeah, but you couldn't avoid that. Like, he was going to tear his meniscus one way or another. Kobe's a better scorer than point guard. With Lonzo and Zach starting, How do you keep Kobe in the starting lineup? Lonzo is not starting. What are you talking about? And Kobe, have you not been watching the team, Trey? Kobe White starting at shooting guard. Zach LaVine starting at small forward. Josh Giddey is the starting point guard. With Josh Giddey's ability to play make, it allows Kobe White and Zach LaVine to. Did you watch a preseason game? And I'm sorry, I know that sounds like a dick. I don't mean it that way. I'm just shocked by the question. Did you like Kobe and Zach actually worked well out there in the starting lineup with having distributing point guards out there? Like we saw the answer to this question. The Dalon is still a question because we never seen a full season. Again, I'm not saying that he can't play in the up tempo. Bro, Shay, yo spelling, bro. But I have seen it for an 82 game season. I mean, but listen, Adama Sanogo's a two-way contract player. He's not going to play 82 games. So we'll see. Billy better give Chris Duarte minutes. Why would he give a trash player minutes? Like, he's sitting on the end of the bench with Javon Carter. Sanogo is very fast, but he's in shape. Yeah, well, this thing, you don't have to be fast to play an up tempo. You just have to know how to move, where to move. So I think Sanogo could be fine. Keep in mind, he played on that Illinois team where they played pretty. I'm sorry, the Connecticut team where they played pretty decent tempo. So again, he's not going to run up and down the court like a gazelle, but I think he'll be fine long term. Sanogo doesn't seem like a player that, if he gets paid, starts to eat his way out of the league. I can see. Oh yeah, Sanogo is always in great shape. Duarte deserves negative. I don't know what that was about. I completely agree with you on that. Dalon, the knee seems like it could linger, so his minutes may vary game to game. Yeah, I mean, clean injury report is good, but I mean, knee. We've seen knee injuries here. We know how that can go. Close the chat and hit the like. Subscribe to all Chicago Central Pods. Thank you for that. We appreciate you. Clean injury report is music to our ears. Thank you for that. Love hearing that. Man, it's afternoon and Haize being petty. I'm not even being petty, Roosevelt. I want to give Idouu some love since he doesn't get enough. He's definitely a building block in his prime for a big season. Oh, listen, Idouu is the glue guy. Him and Zoe, like with Zoe playing and looking like he has, him too, right? But the thing is, Zoe isn't playing every single game. Idoou's going to play every single game as long as he's healthy. Back-to-backs, everything. Idouu is the glue guy to this team. Make no mistake about it. His shooting, his defense, his positional versatility, both defensively and offensively. Idouu is the thing that could make this all work extremely well together. I'm not saying other players can't help it as well. I'm not saying Lonzo won't when he's playing, but because of Idouu being there every day, going to be one of the first players off the bench, can play the 1, 2, or the 3, can play next to Zach, can play next to Kobe, can play next to Giddey. Idouu is a hugely important factor to the Chicago Bulls team and this season upcoming. I agree with you. Like, a lot of people kind of they don't talk about Idouu enough, and I completely agree with you. I think people are kind of taking Idouu a little bit for granted, and that's fine. I'm not mad at it because Idouu is going to show you. And when Idouu is hitting game-winning threes or locking down the other team's best perimeter player or doing something crazy, getting a steal and a dunk, whatever it is, watch out. Watch out. Just watch out. Idouu is definitely going to have a big season. Definitely. So, but hey, listen, it's like I said, I got to give Billy Donovan credit where credit is due. And I think that Billy Donovan is, as of right now, he's saying the right things. We get to see him put him into practice tomorrow. And best believe, now that you said that no player, you're trying to keep players away from playing 10-minute stints, I'm watching it. Because how fast are we going to play? But you don't want to just play fast to play fast. You want to play controlled fast. That's why it's not run and gun, it's up tempo. Those are very different things, right? And so it's going to be hugely important for this team to be able to execute the things that Billy Donovan is talking about. And if we do execute it and we stick to it and we're consistent with it, I tell you what, it's going to be a fun season to watch regardless. I want to be clear there. It's going to be a fun season to watch regardless of any of that. This just upped my excitement a little bit more because if we're always keeping players fresh, right? And keep in mind, look at the weight that Patrick Williams put on, but look at also the shape that like Zach looked like he's in. Everybody needs to be prepared to run because if you do, it's going to be fun. This is going to be a fun team to watch, man. And I, for one, can't wait to see it develop. I can't wait to see it grow. These young players are really gonna step up a lot. So Hey, ball movement is important. Moving off the ball is important. Getting away from ISO is important. And we need to do a lot of these things. A lot of these things. And I think that's really, really good as well. Haize gets a transfer. It's this. Like I got to turn off the Bluetooth. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Jesus Christ. You know what it is too? It's not just the fact that it's Bluetooth. So like I don't my Bluetooth headset also has a magnet in it because you can like stick them on the back of the phone. They stick in the case with magnets. So I think it's the combination of the Bluetooth signal and the magnets in it. If it sits too close to my soundboard, I'm fucked. So thank you for catching me up on this. I appreciate that. His bitch ass has been saying the right things for a few years, but he's proven to be chewing gum on the side. I agree. That's why I said it's good that we hear it right now. This is the only thing that we can do right now is hear it. Now we got to see it come into fruition for sure. He also said we're going to go 10. I started. I don't know if you came into the show late. I started off talking about this, and that is a big thing as well. Going 10 deep for this roster is going to be important. Same thing. Your lady said, but it is what it is. There, Giddey. We should see a lot of motion plays that just can't stand out and watch. You got to be moving without the ball. In this type of offense with Josh Giddey and Lonzo Ball being your point guards at all times, you got to keep your head up. You got to move without the ball. You got to keep your head up because if you don't, you're going to get dinged. That's for damn sure. So Idouu 3% 2 years ago was near what Giddey shot this preseason. That's true. I mean, yeah, Idouu wasn't the greatest 3-point shooter. But and growth is always an opportunity as well. So but yeah, just good news to come out the day before the season starts. I think it's a lot of reasons to be excited about this Bulls team. That's just another one added to the mix. And yeah, we'll see what the season brings, man. I'm really, really excited for this. Really excited for the development. And I think that we have the roster now. Like when you look at it, right? And keep in mind, I've always talked about the roster at 8 or 9 deep because that's just what Billy Donovan has done, right? But now when you look at it, of course, we got our starting 5. You got Lonzo, Idouu, Busilis, Jalen Smith, Torrey Craig, THT, Julian Phillips, Dalen Terry. You got 8 players. Now, again, Lonzo, I'm just not counting him because we know Lonzo's not going to play every game. But you got 8 players off the bench on a team that you're going 10 deep on. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Going to be fun when it comes down to it. I'm really excited about this season. I'm really excited about what the Bulls could be this year. And I'm excited that, listen, we are playing a system as well. You can't overlook this. We got a lot of young players that are trying to prove themselves. And this is a type of system and type of scheme that young players can thrive in. Now, I'm not saying that they all will, right? We can't just assume that they will, but they can thrive in this system. And if that ends up happening, if they do, like we could really see some meaningful development this year. And that's another key thing that we wanted to see this season for the Bulls is develop those young players. Hopefully THC can be a spark off our bench. No, THC is not a spark player. Y'all gotta stop. Y'all gotta stop letting the preseason games fool y'all with THT. Come on, man. Y'all gotta stop it, bro. Y'all gotta stop it, man. Prediction though, or maybe you wish to piss off the Duarte weirdos, trade him by the trade deadline for a fat bitch and a bag of cheese. That's crazy. Why she got to be a B though? But that's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. But all right, y'all, man. I wanted to give that midday update. Let's see if any other details came out of practice before I go. That way I can give y'all the full thing, like she said, giggity. The whole entire thing. Let's see. Any other details come out of practice? 14 to 16 minute range for Lonzo. We talked about that. Josh Giddey saying that he's confident the contract will work itself out. I posted that short to the channel. Yeah, everything seems pretty cool. So, all right, y'all. Let me know what you guys think about anything else, man. Make sure you guys stay in tune with us. You guys can follow us at Bull Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. bullcentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I think I've been proving that very well. By the way, y'all see this hoodie? I really like the patches. It is what it is. Love you guys. Go